He found me again. A 3-year-old girl with no shoes, bloody feet, and absolute terror in her eyes, grabbed a biker's hand at a motorcycle rally and wouldn't let go. She was shaking so hard her whole body vibrated against his leg. Behind her, a man in a blue button-down shirt was already walking toward them, smiling, the kind of smile that makes your skin crawl. He called her sweetheart. He called her his daughter. But the child was clinging to a stranger's fist with both hands, whispering, "Please don't let him take me. He's not my daddy. He killed my mommy." 19 Hells Angels turned around at once, and that man stopped smiling. My dream is to reach 100,000 subscribers. So please, like and subscribe. Stay with me to the very end of this story, and leave a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Cole Dawson heard her before he saw her. It wasn't a scream. That's what made it worse. It was a sound so small, so thin, so broken, that it barely registered above the rumble of idling Harleys. The kind of sound a creature makes when it's been hunted for so long that it doesn't have enough air left in its lungs to cry for help properly. Cole turned from the registration booth where he'd been signing in riders for the annual Iron Thunder rally. And that's when he saw her. A blur of matted blonde hair and torn pink fabric cutting between the parked motorcycles like a rabbit running through a field of wolves. She hit his leg at full speed, both her hands locked onto his wrist, tiny fingers digging into his skin with a strength that shouldn't have been possible for someone her size. She looked up at him with blue eyes so wide he could see white all the way around them. "He found me again." 4 words, whispered, and every single one of them hit Cole Dawson harder than any fist had in 49 years of living. "Hey, hey," Cole said, dropping to one knee. His voice came out rough. He softened it. "Who found you?" "The man who took me." Her fingers dug deeper. She wasn't shivering, she was trembling, the way a body trembles when fear has soaked all the way down past the muscle and into the bone. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Rosie." "Okay, Rosie, I'm Cole. You're safe right now, you understand me? Right now, right here, you are safe." She shook her head fast, back and forth, like she'd heard those words before and they'd turned out to be lies every single time. "No, I'm not. He always finds me. Every time I run, he finds me. He's here. He's here right now." Big Tommy Raines appeared at Cole's shoulder like he'd materialized out of the exhaust fumes. 6'4", 275 pounds, shaved blonde head, thick blonde goatee, forearms like tree branches. Former Marine who did 3 tours and came back with the kind of eyes that never stopped scanning for threats. Tommy didn't ask questions. He looked at the child. He looked at Cole's face. And he turned around to face the crowd, planting himself like a human wall. "How many?" Tommy asked quietly. "One man," Rosie said. "That's all." "That's enough." Within 60 seconds, word passed through the Hells Angels chapter like electricity through a wire. No one shouted, no one made a scene. They just moved. 19 men and 1 woman formed a circle around a 49-year-old mechanic kneeling in gravel, holding the hands of a 3-year-old girl with no shoes on. Darla Bishop pushed through the circle and knelt down. Sandy blonde hair pulled back in a braid, reading glasses hanging from a chain around her neck, first aid kit already open. 58 years old, 30 years working with children, and the kind of face that made hurting people feel safe enough to stop pretending they were fine. "Oh, honey," Darla breathed when she saw Rosie's feet. Bloody, gravel embedded in the skin, raw and torn. This child had been running on rough ground for a long time. "Let me see those feet, baby. Can I touch them?" Rosie looked at Cole, searched his face. Whatever she found there was enough. "She's okay," Cole said. "That's Darla. She's going to help you." Rosie released one hand from Cole's wrist, only one, and extended her foot toward Darla. As Darla gently lifted the small foot and began picking gravel from the cuts, her eyes traveled up the girl's arms. She stopped, Thin white lines circled both wrists. Scars. Uniform. Evenly spaced. Not from one incident. Layered. Old marks under newer marks. Darla looked at Cole. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. Cole saw them too. And something shifted behind his eyes. Something cold. Something final. Like a door locking shut and the key being swallowed. "Rosie," he said, keeping his voice steady even though every muscle in his body was screaming. "When did you eat last?" "I don't remember. Maybe yesterday. Vincent doesn't stop for food when we drive." "Who's Vincent?" "The man who took me." "Took you from where?" "From my house. From my mommy and daddy." Her lower lip trembled. "He says they didn't want me anymore. But that's a lie. My mommy loved me. She called me her Rosie Posey." Her voice cracked on the word, and the tears came. Not the hysterical tears of a tantrum, the quiet, exhausted tears of a child who had cried so many times that she barely had anything left. "I believe you," Cole said. Rosie looked up at him sharply, as if she'd been slapped, as if those 3 words were the most shocking thing anyone had ever said to her. "You do?" "I do." "Nobody ever believes me. He has papers. He shows people papers and they always believe him instead of me." Preacher Owens moved into the circle. 64 years old, white blonde hair, kind eyes that had seen every shade of human darkness and still managed to hold light. A voice like warm gravel pouring into a glass. He lowered himself carefully onto a crate and sat near Rosie without crowding her. "You know what, Rosie?" Preacher said. "I've been alive a long time, and I've learned something important. Papers can lie, but eyes can't. And your eyes are telling the truth." Rosie stared at him for a long moment, reading him the way she'd learned to read everyone, searching for the lie underneath the kindness. Then she whispered, "Are you going to call the police?" "Would that be a good thing?" Cole asked carefully. The fear that crossed her face answered before her mouth did. "No, please. The police always give me back to him. He shows them the papers and they believe him every time. Please don't call the police, please." The circle of bikers tightened. Not on command, not by plan, just instinct. 20 people who had spent their lives on the margins, who knew in their guts and in their bones what it felt like when the system looked at you and decided you weren't worth believing. "Nobody's calling anybody yet," Cole said. "First, we're going to get you some food. Then we're going to figure this out, okay?" Rosie nodded. Then she said something that broke Darla Bishop completely. "Can I sit on your lap?" "Vincent doesn't let me sit on laps. He says I'm too old. But I'm only 3. Cole lifted her onto his knee. She weighed almost nothing. He could feel every rib through her dress. Every single one. Darla turned away and pressed her hand over her mouth. Big Tommy put his huge hand on her shoulder and held it there. Just held it, saying nothing, because there was nothing to say. "Flint," Cole called out. Flint Mercer materialized from the crowd. 32, blonde hair, tattoo sleeves running from wrist to shoulders, a laptop bag slung over one shoulder, and eyes that were already sharp with understanding. The club's tech guy, the one who could find anything, anywhere, on any database that existed. "Already on it, boss." "I need everything you can find. Name, Vincent. First name only. That's all we've got right now. Traveling with a child. Check missing kids' databases. Check everything. Give me 20 minutes. You've got 10. Flint disappeared into the clubhouse trailer. Tommy leaned close to Cole's ear. His voice dropped to a whisper. 2 o'clock. Silver SUV. Been circling the block. 3rd pass. Cole didn't turn his head. "How many inside?" "One driver, male, older, watching the crowd." "That's him," Rosie said. Her whole body went rigid on Cole's lap. She hadn't seen the SUV. She'd heard them talking, and the way her muscles locked up, instant, total, like a switch had been thrown, told Cole everything he needed to know about how finely tuned this child's survival instincts had become. 3 years old, and her body was wired like a combat veteran's. "Don't look at the car, Rosie. Look at me. Look at my face." "Good girl. Now tell me, what does Vincent look like?" "Tall, old, blonde hair but not like yours. His is lighter. He wears glasses and nice clothes so people think he's nice. But he's not nice. He's the opposite of nice." The SUV slowed to a stop across the street. The door opened. Out stepped a man who looked like he just walked out of a Sunday church service. Tall, lean, blonde hair combed neatly to the side, blue button-down shirt, khaki pants, wire-rimmed glasses, and a warm, worried smile already fixed in place. The kind of smile you rehearse in a mirror until it looks like it was born on your face. He walked toward the group of bikers the way a man walks toward a lost puppy. Friendly, slightly exasperated, completely confident. "Oh, thank God," the man called out, his voice carrying a relief so convincing it could have won an Oscar. "There she is. Rosie, sweetheart, you scared Daddy half to death. I've been driving all over town looking for you." Rosie buried her face in Cole's chest. Her fingers twisted into his leather vest so hard the stitching creaked. "Please," she whispered into his shirt. "Please, please, please don't let him take me. I'll do anything. I'll be good forever. Just please don't let him." Cole put his hand on the back of her head. He could feel her heartbeat against his chest. Fast, desperate, like a trapped bird throwing itself against a window. He stood up, shifted Rosie to his hip the way he used to carry Tyler a lifetime ago, settled his weight, planted his feet. "That's close enough." Vincent Hale stopped walking. His smile didn't waver, but something behind his eyes recalculated. A flicker, quick, the kind of adjustment a predator makes when it realizes the prey isn't behaving the way it should. "I'm sorry," Vincent said pleasantly. "I appreciate you looking after her, but she's my daughter. She has a condition. She does this sometimes when she's overstimulated. Crowds upset her." "She's not upset about crowds," Cole replied. "She's upset about you." Vincent tilted his head slightly, the patient, understanding tilt of a man who was used to explaining difficult things to simple people. The tilt of a man who had never once been told no and expected to keep that streak alive. "I understand how this looks, truly, but Rosie has reactive attachment disorder. She's been in treatment for a year. She constructs narratives about being kidnapped. It's a documented symptom. Her therapist says it's a coping mechanism." He reached into his back pocket and produced a leather folder. Inside, custody papers, medical evaluations, a letter on official-looking letterhead from a psychiatric practice. Everything neat, everything professional, everything designed to make the person reading it feel foolish for ever having doubted. "Everything is documented," Vincent said smoothly. "I have full legal custody, awarded by the family court in Clark County, Nevada. You can verify it." He held the folder out to Cole. Cole didn't take it. Tommy took it instead, opened it, read slowly. His face gave away nothing. "These look official," Tommy said. "They are official. Nevada court," Tommy continued, his voice flat. "What's a Nevada guardian doing in Arizona?" "My work requires travel. I'm a financial consultant. I help struggling businesses reorganize. Rosie travels with me because she needs constant supervision." Every answer was smooth, practiced, reasonable, delivered with the right amount of patience and the right amount of concern. Vincent Hale was the most convincing liar Cole Dawson had ever encountered, and Cole had encountered plenty. But Rosie's body told a different story. The trembling hadn't stopped. If anything, it had gotten worse. She was shaking so hard that Cole had to adjust his grip to keep holding her. Her face was buried so deep in his chest that he could feel her breath soaking through his shirt. "What happened to her shoes?" Darla asked. The question caught Vincent off guard for exactly 1 second. 1 single second of hesitation before the machine produced another perfect answer. "She kicked them off when she ran. Sensory issue. She does that." "And the scars on her wrists?" Darla continued. Her voice had changed. The softness was gone. What replaced it was the steel of a woman who had spent 3 decades working with children and knew exactly what zip tie marks look like. Is that a sensory issue too? Vincent's smile held, but it changed. The warmth drained out of it the way water drains from a cracked glass. What remained was the shape of a smile without any of its meaning. Rosie self-harms, he said quietly. It's one of the reasons she needs specialized care, which I provide. He paused, let the words settle. Then his voice dropped, just slightly, into something harder. Now, please hand me my daughter so I can take her home. No, Cole said it simply. One word, final. I'm sorry. She stays with us. You don't have that right. Maybe not, but she asked me to protect her and I said yes. So until somebody with a badge tells me different, and I mean a badge I trust, she's not going anywhere. Vincent stared at Cole. The mask was thinning now. The charming consultant facade was cracking at the edges, and underneath it, something else was becoming visible. Something patient, something cold, something deeply, fundamentally wrong. Do you understand the legal consequences of what you're doing? Vincent asked. His voice dropped to a register that was almost conversational. Almost Darla. She wasn't terrified of any of us. Darla. She wasn't terrified of any of us. She wasn't terrified of Tommy, and Tommy scares most grown men. Just you. Only you. Silence. Vincent looked around the circle of bikers, counted them, measured them, calculated odds the way a man calculates odds when he's done this calculation many times before and always come out ahead. I'll be back, he said, with the sheriff, with lawyers, with a court order if necessary, and every single one of you will face kidnapping charges. I will personally see to it that this club is shut down. He turned and walked back to the SUV. Not fast, not slow. The walk of a man who had all the time in the world. A man who believed with absolute certainty that the system would deliver what he wanted. Because it always had. The door closed. The engine started. The SUV pulled away. Rosie lifted her face from Cole's chest. Her cheeks were wet. Her eyes were swollen. But there was something new in them. Something fragile and flickering. Something so small it could be killed by a whisper. Hope. He's going to come back, she said. I know. He always comes back. I know that too. Are you scared? Cole looked at this child, 3 years old, barely 30 pounds, holding on to him like he was the only solid thing in a world made of water. And he thought about Tyler, thought about Jennifer, thought about every single thing he'd lost and couldn't protect and would give anything to have back. No, Rosie, I'm not scared. I'm angry. And angry is better than scared, because scared makes you run. But angry makes you stay. Rosie considered this with a seriousness that belonged to someone 10 times her age. I've been scared for a really long time, she said. I know, sweetheart, but you're not running anymore. You found us, and we don't move. Darla appeared with a plate, a burger cut into small pieces, fries, a carton of chocolate milk. She set it on Cole's knee in front of Rosie. Rosie stared at it like it might disappear. It's for you, baby, Darla said. All of it. Rosie ate with both hands, barely chewing, barely breathing between bites. Cole had to slow her down twice so she wouldn't choke. She finished everything in 3 minutes and then looked at the empty plate with an expression that told every single person watching that she had no idea when food would appear again. There's more, Darla said gently. There will always be more. Rosie looked up at her. Promise? Promise. Vincent says promises are just words people use to make you stop asking for things. Darla crouched down until her eyes were level with Rosie's. Well, Rosie, Vincent is wrong about a lot of things, and you're about to find out just how wrong. The trailer door burst open. Flint stood in the doorway. His face was white. Not worried, white. The color of a man who had just found something that changed everything he thought he understood about the world. "Boss," Flint said, "you need to see this, right now." Cole carried Rosie into the trailer, set her on the bench with crayons and paper. "Draw me something, princess. I need to talk to Flint for a minute." He stepped to the far end where Flint had his laptop open. The screen was filled with text, images, and one photograph that made Cole's stomach drop through the floor. "Rosie Ann Calloway," Flint said, his voice barely controlled. "Age 3. Reported missing from Twin Falls, Idaho, 19 months ago. Amber Alert issued. Massive search. No leads." He swallowed hard. "Her parents, Michael and Sarah Calloway." Flint's voice cracked. He forced it steady. "Found dead in their home 1 week after Rosie disappeared. Both shot. Double homicide. Case went cold." Cole gripped the edge of the table. "He killed them." "That's not all." Flint scrolled down. His fingers were shaking. "I started cross-referencing the pattern. Small-town families, young children, parents murdered, kids vanished. No connection between victims, no apparent motive, no suspects." "How many?" 4. 4 other children besides Rosie, over 6 years, 5 states. The trailer was silent except for the scratch of Rosie's crayons on paper. "He's not a kidnapper," Cole said slowly. "No," Flint looked at him. "He's a serial killer who collects children." Cole turned and looked at Rosie. She was drawing a house. A yellow house with 2 stick figures in front of it, a man with brown scribbles for hair and a woman with a big smile. Above the house in her wobbly 3-year-old scrawl, she had tried to write 2 letters. M-Y. My home. And something inside Cole Dawson, something that had been frozen solid since the morning they called to tell him Tyler's car had been hit on Route 12, since the hospital hallway that smelled like bleach and grief, since the day they put his boy in the ground, and he stopped being a father and started being a ghost, cracked wide open. "Flint." "Yeah, boss." "Call every chapter within 500 miles." "Already did." "Good. Now find me everything on this man, every name he's used, every address, every credit card, every lie. I want to know what he had for breakfast." "What are you going to do?" Cole looked out the trailer window toward the street where the silver SUV had disappeared. His hands were steady. His jaw was set. His eyes held something that hadn't been there an hour ago, something that looked a lot like purpose. "I'm going to make sure that man never takes another child anywhere, ever again." Rosie looked up from her drawing. "Uncle Cole?" The name hit him so hard he had to turn away for a second, had to close his eyes, had to breathe. "Yeah, Rosie." "Are you going to make him go away?" "Yes." "How do you know?" "Because you asked me to, and I don't break promises, not to family." She went back to her drawing, added a 3rd figure to the picture, a big one, standing next to the yellow house, wearing what appeared to be a leather vest. She pointed at it. "That's you," she said, and for the first time in 19 months, Rosie Ann Calloway smiled. Cole hadn't moved from the trailer in 2 hours. Rosie had fallen asleep on the bench, curled into a ball with her knees pulled to her chest, and one hand still clutching the corner of his vest. Even in sleep, she held on. Even in sleep, she was ready to run. Flint hadn't stopped typing. His fingers moved across the keyboard with a rhythm that had shifted from urgent to frantic about 40 minutes ago, right around the time he found the 3rd dead family. "Boss," Flint said without looking up, "it's worse than I thought." "Tell me." "Vincent Hale isn't his real name, obviously, but I've tracked at least 5 aliases so far. Vincent Hale, David Merritt, Robert Nolan, Stephen Marsh, James Whitford. Every name comes with a complete set of documents. Driver's license, social security, custody papers, medical records for whatever child he's carrying. This guy doesn't just forge papers, he builds entire identities." "How?" "That's the thing." Flint finally looked up. His eyes were bloodshot. This level of documentation isn't something you put together in your garage with a printer. Somebody is helping him. Somebody with access to real databases, real court systems, real letterhead. Cole felt the ground shift under him. You're saying he has people inside the system. I'm saying these forgeries are so good that I almost believe them myself, and I know exactly what to look for. Darla stepped into the trailer quietly. She checked on Rosie first, pressed 2 fingers gently to the girl's wrist, counting heartbeats, before turning to the men. She's malnourished, Darla said flatly. Not just missed a few meals malnourished. Her body's eating itself. I can count every rib. Her spine is visible through her skin. The muscle wasting in her legs tells me she's been confined. Not just traveling, confined, kept in small spaces for long periods. How long? Months, maybe longer. And the scarring on her wrists isn't from one incident. It's layered. Old scars under newer scars. Whoever this man is, he's been restraining her regularly. Preacher appeared in the doorway. His face carried something Cole had never seen on it before. Not anger, not sadness. A kind of fury that belonged in the Old Testament. I just got off the phone with a chapter in Boise, Preacher said. They made some calls to people they know in Twin Falls. The Calloway murders. It was all over the news up there. Husband and wife shot in their own kitchen. 3-year-old daughter missing. The whole city searched for weeks. Volunteers, police, FBI, nothing. The FBI was involved? Initially. Then the case went cold and they pulled resources. The running theory was whoever killed the parents took the child across state lines and vanished. They were right about that part. There's more. Preacher lowered his voice. The Boise chapter asked around. 3 months before the Calloways were killed, a man matching Vincent's description rented a house 2 streets away from them. Paid cash. Kept to himself. Neighbors said he was polite, quiet, friendly. He watched them, Cole said. He studied them, learned their routines, figured out when they were vulnerable. Then he took what he wanted and eliminated the witnesses. Tommy ducked his head through the trailer door. He had to turn sideways to fit. We got a problem. Go. Motel 6, north end of town. I went to check it out after Flint flagged the registration. Talked to the night manager. Vincent, or whatever his name is, checked in 5 days ago. Paid cash. Told the manager he was traveling with his sick daughter who needed rest and quiet. Asked for a room at the end of the hall, away from other guests. Was there a daughter with him? No. Manager never saw any child. Tommy's hands clenched at his sides. Cole saw it. The big man was fighting to keep his voice level. I got a look through the window, Tommy continued. There's surveillance equipment in that room. Professional-grade cameras. A tracking device. What looks like a signal interceptor. And there are photographs pinned to the wall above the desk. Of what? Children. 6 of them, including Rosie. Recent photos taken from a distance with a telephoto lens. Some at a playground, some through windows. One of her sleeping. Darla's hand went to her mouth. He's been here for 5 days, Cole said. He's been watching her for 5 days before she even knew he was here. That means someone in this town had Rosie, Flint said, spinning around in his chair. She's been somewhere nearby. A foster family, a group home, something, and Vincent tracked her here. Rosie stirred on the bench. Her eyes opened. Not slowly the way a child wakes from a nap. All at once, the way prey wakes when it hears a predator. I heard you talking, she said, about the pictures. You don't have to worry about that, sweetheart. He always takes pictures first. Before he comes to get me, he watches for a while. She sat up. Her voice was flat, matter of fact, the voice of someone describing weather. He told me once that watching is the best part. He said he likes to see me think I'm safe, because it makes taking me back feel better. Every adult in that trailer stopped breathing. Rosie, Cole said carefully, you said he found you again. That means you've gotten away before. Where were you living before you ran? A foster home, here in town, Mr. and Mrs. Chen, they were nice. They didn't know about Vincent. Nobody knew. She pulled her knees tighter to her chest. I didn't tell them because last time I told someone, Vincent found out. And he punished me. He said if I ever told anyone about him, he would hurt the people I told. So you ran instead of asking for help. Running is safer for everyone. 3 years old, and she had already learned that asking for help put the helpers in danger. She had learned to carry the weight alone because sharing it meant someone else might get hurt. Darla sat down on the bench and pulled Rosie gently into her arms. The girl resisted for 1 second. Habit, instinct, the trained response of a child who'd learned that comfort always came with a cost, and then collapsed into Darla's body like a wall giving way. You listen to me, Rosie Ann Calloway, Darla said, and her voice cracked right down the middle, but she kept talking through it. You are 3 years old. It is not your job to protect grown-ups. It is our job to protect you. Do you understand me? Our job, not yours. Ours. Rosie didn't answer. She just buried her face in Darla's shoulder and breathed. Deep, slow. The breathing of a child who was practicing what it felt like to be held without being afraid. Flint, Cole said. The foster home. The Chens. Find them. It took Flint 11 minutes. Grace and Henry Chen, licensed foster parents in Prescott. They had reported Rosie missing to local police just 3 hours ago when she didn't come back from playing in the yard. Call them, Cole said. Tell them she's safe. Tell them nothing else until I say. Flint made the call. Even from across the trailer, Cole could hear Grace Chen's sobbing relief through the phone. Now, Cole said to the room, here's where we are. We've got a child who was kidnapped 19 months ago. Her parents were murdered. The man who took her is in this town right now, and he's heading to the sheriff's office with documents good enough to fool a judge. We have maybe 8 hours before he shows up here with a badge behind him. What do we have that proves he's lying? The documents are forgeries, Flint said. I can prove it. The court seal on the custody papers is wrong. Different font than Clark County actually uses. The case number doesn't exist in the Nevada database. And the judge whose signature is on the papers? She retired 6 months before the date on the document. Can you prove that in a way Sheriff Dawkins will believe? Flint hesitated. I can show him the inconsistencies, but Dawkins isn't going to take a biker's word over official-looking court documents. Not without verification, and verification takes time. Time we don't have. There's something else, Flint said. The medical evaluation Vincent carries. The one claiming Rosie has reactive attachment disorder. It references a clinic in Scottsdale, Desert Valley Behavioral Health. That clinic closed in 2020, doesn't exist anymore. And the psychiatrist named on the evaluation, Dr. Marcus Webb, he lost his license in 2021 for falsifying medical records. So the medical records are fake too. Everything is fake. The custody papers, the medical records, probably the driver's license. This man's entire existence is built on forgeries. Preacher, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke. What about the missing children database? The FBI file on Rosie? Surely that's enough to stop the sheriff from handing her over. It should be, Cole said, but Vincent has played this game before. Rosie said she's gotten away and been caught again. That means he's walked into police stations with those papers and walked out with a child. Multiple times. He knows exactly how to work the system. Then we don't work the system, Tommy said. We break it. Meaning what? We go over Dawkins's head? Straight to the FBI? On a Saturday night? With evidence from a laptop search done by a guy whose day job is fixing computers? Flint shot him a look. I also sell TVs. Not the point. The point is Vincent is going to show up here with the sheriff. And when he does, we need to be holding cards that beat his. Rosie had been listening. Children always listen. People forget that. They talk around children as if children are furniture. But children hear everything, and they understand more than anyone gives them credit for. I know something, Rosie said. Every head turned. I know about the other kids. The trailer went dead silent. What other kids, honey? Darla asked. The ones he keeps. I've seen them. Not all the time. Sometimes when we stop at places, houses he has, he puts me in a room and I can hear them through the walls. Crying. I heard a boy named Owen, and a girl named Mia, and another little girl, but I didn't hear her name. Where were these houses, Rosie? Do you remember anything about them? One had a red door. One was next to train tracks because I could hear the trains at night. One was in a place where it was really, really hot. Hotter than here. Flint was already typing. Owen, Mia, cross-referencing with missing children in the same pattern. It took less than 5 minutes. Owen Briggs, Flint read, his voice hollow. Age 5, missing from Sacramento, California, 3 years ago. Parents found dead. He scrolled. Mia Sutton, age 4, missing from Casper, Wyoming, 14 months ago. Mother found dead. Father was deployed overseas. He picks families where the children will be alone after the parents are gone, Preacher said quietly. No grandparents nearby, no relatives. He isolates them by killing everyone who would look for them. How is this man still free? Tommy demanded, and his fist hit the trailer wall hard enough to dent the metal. Rosie flinched. Tommy saw it immediately. He dropped to one knee in front of her, gentled his voice the way you gentle a voice for something precious and breakable. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at him. I know, Rosie said. Everybody gets mad when I tell them about Vincent. That's why he told me to never tell. Rosie, Cole said, and he made sure his voice was steady and warm and absolutely certain. Every single thing you're telling us is helping. You are the bravest person I have ever met, and I have met a lot of brave people. Braver than him? She pointed at Tommy. Tommy actually smiled. Way braver than me, kid, and I was in the Marines. Braver than Darla? Nobody's braver than Darla, Tommy said, but you're a real close second. Rosie's mouth twitched, almost a smile. It didn't quite make it. Her eyes brightened for 1 second before the weight came back down. But it was close, closer than anything she'd managed in 19 months. Cole's phone rang. He looked at the screen. Sheriff Dawkins. Cole! Dawkins's voice was strained, professional but uncomfortable. The voice of a man caught between what he felt and what the law required. I'm listening, Ray. I've got a man in my office with a stack of custody documents and a very convincing story about his daughter being held against her will by your club. He's lying. That may be, but his paperwork looks legitimate, and I have a legal obligation to investigate. Have you run his name? Silence. Ray, have you run his name through any database? NCIC? Missing children? Anything? I'm going to. I'm doing this by the book, Cole. Those documents won't check out because they're forgeries. And the man sitting in your office right now murdered that little girl's parents and kidnapped her from Twin Falls, Idaho, 19 months ago. Long pause. Cole could hear Dawkins breathing. That's a hell of an accusation. It's not an accusation, it's a fact. Her name is Rosie Ann Calloway. She's in the FBI's Missing Children database. Her parents were Michael and Sarah Calloway, both murdered. Look it up. I will, but Cole, I need you to keep that child safe and present when I come out there. Don't do anything stupid. Ray, the only stupid thing anyone's done tonight is let that man sit in your office like he's the victim. The call ended. How long? Tommy asked. He said by the book. That means he'll check databases tonight, but he'll still come here in the morning to sort it out face to face. And if Vincent runs before morning, then we have a bigger problem. Because if he runs, he disappears. New name, new documents, new state, and the next family he targets won't have a motorcycle club standing between him and their child. Flint looked up from his laptop. Boss, I found something else. I've been going through motel records, lease agreements, anything tied to Vincent's known aliases. One of his credit cards, the one under James Whitford, made a purchase 2 weeks ago at a hardware store in Flagstaff. What did he buy? Zip ties, a padlock, duct tape, and a child's car seat. The words landed like stones dropping into still water. He wasn't just tracking Rosie, Darla said, her voice barely a whisper. He was preparing to take her, Cole confirmed. He came here with a plan. He knew where she was. He watched her for 5 days. He bought supplies. And then he was going to take her and disappear again. Except she ran, Preacher said. Except she ran, Cole repeated, straight to us. Rosie was drawing again. She had started a new picture. This one wasn't a yellow house. It was a circle of stick figures, big ones with broad shoulders, surrounding a very small figure in the middle. Above the circle, in her 3-year-old handwriting, she had written one word: safe. Cole looked at that word and felt something catch in his throat like a fishhook. Flint, I need you to do something you probably shouldn't do. Name it. Can you get into the FBI's case management system? That's a federal crime, boss. Can you do it? Flint stared at him for 3 full seconds. Then he cracked his knuckles. Yeah, I can do it. Find the agent assigned to the Calloway case. Find their direct number. I don't care if it's Saturday night. I don't care if they're at their kid's birthday party. Get me that name and that number. Give me 30 minutes. You've got 15. It took Flint 12. Agent Nathan Holt, Flint said. Based out of the FBI field office in Salt Lake City, he's been assigned to a multi-state task force investigating linked child disappearances and family homicides across the western states. He's been working the case for 2 years. 2 years, and he hasn't caught this guy? According to what I can see, they didn't even know it was one guy until about 6 months ago. They thought they were looking at separate cases. Holt was the one who connected the pattern. Call him. Cole took the phone. It rang 5 times, 6, 7. Then a voice, tired, annoyed, the voice of a man who had learned not to expect good news from unknown numbers. Holt. Agent Holt, my name is Cole Dawson. I'm calling from Prescott, Arizona. I'm holding the hand of a 3-year-old girl named Rosie Ann Calloway, and the man who took her from Twin Falls is less than 2 miles from where I'm standing right now. The silence on the other end lasted 3 full seconds. Say that again. Rosie Ann Calloway, Cole said again, slower this time, making sure every word landed. Missing from Twin Falls, Idaho, 19 months. Parents Michael and Sarah Calloway, both murdered. The suspect is using the name Vincent Hale. He's currently at the Prescott Sheriff's Office trying to convince the local sheriff that we kidnapped his daughter. Holt's breathing changed. Cole could hear it through the phone. The shift from annoyance to something electric. The sound of a man who'd been chasing a ghost for 2 years and just heard footsteps. Do not let that child out of your sight. That was never going to happen. I'm in Salt Lake. I can be there in, hold on. Sounds of movement, keys jangling, a door slamming. I can have a team there by morning, maybe sooner if I can get a charter flight. Morning might be too late. The local sheriff is coming here at first light to sort out custody. Vincent has documents that look real enough to fool anyone who isn't looking closely. They're forgeries. I know that, you know that, but Sheriff Dawkins doesn't know that yet. Listen to me carefully, Mr. Dawson. The man you're dealing with has evaded law enforcement across 5 states for 6 years. He is intelligent, he is prepared, and he is extremely dangerous. He has killed at least 4 adults that we know of. Do not confront him. Do not engage him. Keep the girl safe and wait for my team. And if Vincent decides not to wait? Holt paused. When he spoke again, his voice was different, lower. The voice of a federal agent choosing his words very carefully. Then you do whatever you have to do to protect that child. Whatever you have to do. Are we clear? Crystal. I'm leaving now. Keep this number. Call me if anything changes. The line went dead. Cole looked at the room. Tommy, Darla, Flint, Preacher. Through the trailer window, he could see the shapes of 35 Hell's Angels standing guard in the darkness, cigarettes glowing like scattered stars. The FBI is coming, Cole said, but they won't be here until morning. So we hold, Tommy said. We hold. What about Vincent? He's at the sheriff's station. As long as he thinks the law is going to hand Rosie over, he'll stay put. He'll wait for the system to do his work for him. That's his play. That's always been his play. And if he finds out the FBI is coming? Nobody answered. Nobody needed to. If Vincent found out, he would run. New name, new state, new family to destroy. And Rosie would spend the rest of her life knowing the man who killed her parents was still out there, still hunting, still taking children like trophies from a shelf. Darla tucked the blanket tighter around Rosie, who had fallen asleep again with a crayon still in her hand. The drawing of the protective circle lay on the bench beside her. You know what kills me? Darla said quietly. She drew us protecting her. Not the police, not the FBI, us, a bunch of bikers she met 3 hours ago. Because we were the first ones who said no to him, Cole replied. We were the first ones who looked at his papers and looked at her face and chose to believe the face. Why didn't anyone else? Because he's good at what he does. Because the papers look real. Because people want to believe that a well-dressed man with a warm smile and official documents is telling the truth. It's easier. It's simpler. And most people choose easy over right. Preacher sat down heavily. Not tonight. Tonight the hard thing and the right thing are the same thing. Cole's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He opened it. 4 words. You can't keep her. He stared at the screen, showed it to Tommy. He has your number, Tommy said. How? A man with 5 identities and professional surveillance equipment can probably find a phone number. Another text came through. I have taken back every child who was ever kept from me. Every single one. You are not special. You are just another obstacle. Then a third. Enjoy your last night with her. Cole read the messages twice. Then he put his phone in his pocket and walked back to the trailer. Sat down next to Rosie's sleeping form. Put his hand on her back, feeling the rise and fall of her breathing. He just threatened us, Tommy said from the doorway. He just made a mistake, Cole answered, because now we have his phone number. Flint, trace this. Flint took the phone. His eyes went wide. Then he smiled. The kind of smile that happens when the prey walks into the trap instead of away from it. Got him. Flint traced it in under 3 minutes. Burner phone, prepaid, purchased at a gas station in Flagstaff 2 weeks ago. But Vincent had made one critical error. He'd sent the messages while connected to the sheriff's office Wi-Fi. He's still there, Flint said. Still at the station. Sent those threats from inside the building. Probably sitting 10 feet from Sheriff Dawkins while doing it. That's arrogance, Tommy said. No, Cole replied. That's confidence. He's done this so many times he doesn't think he can lose. He's sitting in a police station threatening us because he believes the system will protect him the way it always has. Then we use that, Flint said. He thinks we're scared. He thinks those messages rattled us. Let him think that. Let him believe he's in control while Agent Holt closes the distance. Cole shook his head. Morning is too far away. Vincent is smart enough to know that the longer this drags out, the worse it gets for him. If Dawkins really runs those databases tonight, really runs them, the whole thing unravels. Vincent knows that. Meaning? Meaning he's got a backup plan. The kind you make when you've killed 4 people and gotten away with it for 6 years. Darla looked up from Rosie's side. He's going to run tonight, before morning, and he's going to try to take her with him. How? Tommy demanded. We've got 50 riders out there. He can't get within 100 yards of this trailer. He doesn't need to get to the trailer, Cole said. He just needs to get Dawkins to bring Rosie to him. The realization hit the room like a shockwave. If Dawkins gets a verified custody order, Cole continued, even a temporary emergency one, he's legally required to remove Rosie from our care and hand her to her legal guardian. Vincent knows this. That's why he's still at the station. He's not just filing a complaint, he's working the legal angle. Can he get that on a Saturday night? An emergency custody order can be issued by any available judge, and Vincent has had 5 days to figure out which judge in this county would be the easiest to convince. Cole grabbed his phone and called Dawkins. It rang twice. "Cole, I told you I'd handle this." "Ray, has he asked for an emergency custody order?" Silence. The kind of silence that answers the question before words do. "Ray, he's on the phone with Judge Harmon right now. His attorney is on speaker." "He has an attorney? At 11 o'clock on a Saturday night?" "A good one, apparently, out of Flagstaff. Showed up 20 minutes ago." Cole's blood went cold. This wasn't improvisation. Vincent had a lawyer staged and ready before he ever approached the bikers. He had planned for resistance. He had planned for everything. "Ray, listen to me. I need you to stall. Do not let that order go through tonight. I have the FBI on the way. Agent Nathan Holt, Salt Lake City office. He's been investigating linked child kidnappings and homicides for 2 years. This man, Vincent, or whatever his real name is his primary suspect." "Cole, I can't just stall a legal proceeding based on a phone call." "You can if you believe a child's life is in danger." "I need more than belief. I need evidence." "Then come here, right now. Come look at this girl's wrists. Come see the zip tie scars. Come watch her sleep and see how she flinches every time a car drives past. Come look her in the eye and tell me that man in your office is her father." Another silence, longer this time. Cole could almost hear the gears turning, the sheriff's conscience fighting with the sheriff's badge. "Give me 1 hour, Cole. I'll stall the order for 1 hour, but if I can't verify what you're telling me by then, I have to let the process play out. I don't have a choice." 1 hour. The call ended. Cole looked at the clock. 11:14 p.m. "Flint, get Holt on the phone. Tell him we just lost 6 hours. We need him here by midnight or this is over." Flint dialed. Voicemail. Tried again. Voicemail. "He's probably on a plane. No cell service. Keep trying. Every 5 minutes." Tommy stepped close, lowered his voice so Rosie wouldn't hear, even in sleep. "Boss, if that order comes through and Dawkins shows up here with a legal document, what do we do?" "We don't hand her over. That's obstruction, maybe kidnapping. They'll arrest every one of us." "Then they arrest every one of us." Tommy stared at him. 3 seconds. Then he nodded once. Just once. The nod of a Marine who understood the order and accepted it without hesitation. "Okay, I'll let the boys know." He walked outside. Cole heard him speaking in low tones to the gathered riders. There was no argument, no debate. No one asked for an explanation. Just the sound of 50 men understanding exactly what they were being asked to do and agreeing to do it without a single word of protest. Darla adjusted Rosie's blanket. "You know what she told me while you were on the phone?" "What?" "She said she used to pray every night for someone to find her, for the first year. Then she stopped." "Why?" "She said she figured God couldn't hear her because Vincent kept moving. She thought prayers had to catch up to you, and if you moved too fast, they couldn't find you." Cole closed his eyes. But then she said something else. She said tonight, when she saw all the motorcycles, she thought maybe her prayers finally caught up. Preacher, standing by the door, wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. At 11:31 p.m., Cole's phone buzzed again. Not a text this time. A call. Unknown number. He answered. "Mr. Dawson." Vincent's voice. Calm, conversational. The voice of a man ordering coffee at his favorite shop. "I want you to know that I don't blame you for this. You're doing what you think is right. I respect that. I don't need your respect. Perhaps not, but you should know that Judge Harmon is reviewing my petition right now. My attorney expects the emergency order signed within the hour. When Sheriff Dawkins arrives with that order, you'll have two choices. Hand Rosie over peacefully or go to prison. There's a third choice. And what's that? You turn yourself in. Right now. Walk into Dawkins's office and confess to what you've done. To the Callaways, to the Briggs family, to the Suttons, to every family you destroyed. Silence on the line, then a sound that made Cole's skin crawl. A soft laugh. Not cruel, not villainous, just amused. The way you'd laugh at a child who said something adorably naive. You've been doing research. I'm impressed. Most people don't get this far. Most people don't have a 3-year-old telling them the truth. Rosie tells everyone what she thinks is the truth. It's never mattered before. Paperwork beats testimony. Systems beat individuals. That's how the world works, Mr. Dawson. I didn't create the rules. I just learned to use them better than anyone else. The FBI knows who you are. The silence that followed was different, sharper, like the air before lightning. You're bluffing. Agent Nathan Holt, Salt Lake Field Office. He's been tracking you for 2 years. He connected the patterns 6 months ago. He knows about the aliases, the forgeries, the murdered families. He's on his way here right now. Vincent didn't speak for 5 seconds. When he did, his voice had changed. The warmth was gone. The performance was over. What remained was flat, precise, and empty. Then I suppose we're on a clock, both of us. The line went dead. He's going to run, Tommy said immediately from the doorway. Not without trying for Rosie first, Cole said. That's who he is. He doesn't leave without what he came for. He told me himself. He's taken back every child who was ever kept from him. Every single one. Cole's phone rang. Dawkins. Cole. The sheriff's voice was tight. Judge Harmon signed the order. The words hit like a car wreck. I've got a temporary emergency custody order granting Vincent Hale physical custody of the minor child, pending a full hearing Monday morning. I have to serve it tonight. Ray, you can't. I don't have a choice. This is a signed court order from a sitting judge. If I don't enforce it, I lose my badge, my pension, and Vincent's attorney files a federal civil rights suit against the county. That man killed her parents. You keep saying that, but I have a court order and you have accusations. I need proof, Cole. Real proof. Something I can put in front of Judge Harmon that makes him rescind this order. Cole looked at Flint. Flint looked at his laptop. Everything they'd found, the fake documents, the closed clinic, the dead families, it was all digital. Screenshots, database searches, the kind of evidence that took days to verify through official channels. How long before you get here? Cole asked. 30 minutes. I'm trying to reach Judge Harmon to request a delay, but his phone's going to voicemail. Of course it is, because Vincent's attorney already thought of that. Got the order signed and made sure the judge wasn't available for second thoughts. Cole, 30 minutes. That's all I can give you. The call ended. We have 30 minutes, Cole told the room, to find proof that will stand up in front of a sheriff and a judge. Real proof, not database searches, not suspicions, something undeniable. The motel room, Tommy said instantly, the surveillance equipment, the photographs of children pinned to the wall. If Dawkins sees that room, no court order in the world makes him hand over a child. Vincent will have cleaned it by now. Maybe, but I know the night manager, Eddie Vega. He's a vet, Marine, 2 tours. He told me something when I was there earlier. He said that room didn't feel right, said the man gave him a bad feeling. A bad feeling isn't evidence. No, but Eddie keeps a master keycard log. Every room entry is digitally recorded, and he has security cameras on the hallway, pointed right at Vincent's door. Every time he entered, every time he exited, it's all on video, including every time he left carrying equipment. including every time he came back without a child, despite telling Eddie he was traveling with his sick daughter. Cole grabbed his keys. Tommy, you're with me. Flint, keep trying Holt. Darla, you don't leave Rosie's side. Not for 1 second. Nobody's getting through that door unless they go through me first, Darla said. Preacher, you're in charge here. If Dawkins shows up before we get back, stall him. How? You're a preacher. Talk to him about his soul. That should buy us 20 minutes. Preacher almost smiled. I'll make it 30. Cole and Tommy moved fast. As they passed through the line of riders, men straightened. Nobody asked where they were going. If we're wrong about the cameras, Tommy said as they got into the truck, we're not wrong. But if we are, then I'm going to prison tonight, and Vincent Hale drives away with a 3-year-old girl in his car, and I have to live with that for the rest of my life. No, Tommy said quietly, that's the one thing that's not going to happen. Even if every legal play fails, even if Dawkins shows up with 10 deputies and a federal marshal, that girl is not getting in a car with that man. I don't care what it costs. You've got a daughter, Tommy. I know. That's exactly why I'm saying it. They reached the motel in 9 minutes. Eddie Vega was behind the front desk, a wiry man in his 50s with military tattoos and eyes that softened when he saw Tommy. Crawford, you're back. Eddie, we need to see the security footage from Vincent's hallway and the key card log. Tonight, right now. This about the guy in room 114? This is about a 3-year-old girl that guy kidnapped after murdering her parents. Eddie's face changed. The suspicion hardened into something older, something forged in combat. I knew something was wrong with him. I've seen that look before, overseas. The contractors who did things nobody talked about, dead eyes with a smile on top. He reached under the desk and pulled out a laptop. Can you pull the footage? Tommy asked. Already been reviewing it since you left. I found something. Eddie turned the laptop around. Security camera footage, time-stamped. Vincent Hale entering room 114 carrying a black duffel bag. Vincent exiting 2 hours later without the bag. Vincent returning at 2 a.m. carrying camera equipment. Vincent standing at the wall, pinning something up. The angle was tight, but visible enough. Photographs. There's more, Eddie said. He pulled up another clip. Vincent leaving the room that morning. He stopped in the hallway, checked his reflection, and then Cole watched it happen. The man adjusted his face, practiced his smile, rehearsed the expression of a worried father, tried it twice until it looked natural, then walked toward the exit. He practiced his smile, Tommy said, in a mirror before going out to find her. But this is the one that matters, Eddie said. He clicked to a new clip, time-stamped 3 days ago. Vincent entering the room with a shopping bag. He set it on the bed. The camera angle, reflected through the partially open door, caught him pulling items from the bag and laying them out in a row. Zip ties, a padlock, duct tape, and a small piece of fabric. What's the fabric? Cole asked. Eddie zoomed in. Grainy but visible, a child-sized blindfold. Cole's hands gripped the counter until his knuckles turned white. Tommy turned away. Eddie sat very still. I need copies of all of this, Cole said. Everything. On a drive. Right now. Eddie pulled a USB drive from his pocket. Already done. I made a copy 2 hours ago, after your friend left. Couldn't stop thinking about it. 30 years in the Marines and private security. I've seen bad men, son. That man in room 114 is the worst kind. The kind who looks like everybody's favorite uncle. Eddie, you might have just saved a little girl's life. Then it's the first thing I've done since Afghanistan that actually mattered. They were back at the rally in 8 minutes. 14 minutes before Dawkins arrived. Flint met them at the trailer door. Holt answered, he's landing in Flagstaff. Local field office is sending a car, 90 minutes out. We don't have 90 minutes, we have 14. I know, but Holt said something else. He said to tell Dawkins one thing, just one thing, and it'll be enough to make him pause. What? Tell Dawkins to search the NCIC database for the name Malcolm Dean Cross. Cole went still. Who is Malcolm Dean Cross? That's Vincent's real name. Holt confirmed it. Malcolm Dean Cross. He's flagged in the federal system. Multiple warrants. Multiple states. Dawkins doesn't know that name because Vincent registered as Vincent Hale. That's the whole point. If Dawkins runs the real name, every alarm in the building goes off. Headlights appeared at the end of the road. Dawkins's cruiser, moving slow. Behind it, a second car, a black sedan. Vincent's attorney. He brought the lawyer, Tommy said. Where's Vincent? Cole scanned the road. The silver SUV was nowhere in sight. He's not with them. He's waiting somewhere nearby. Wants the sheriff to do the dirty work. Hand over the child, bring her outside, then Vincent appears to collect her. He stays clean. The sheriff serves the order. The attorney witnesses it. Everything legal. Everything documented. Dawkins's cruiser pulled to a stop. He stepped out. Cole could see it in every line of his body. The sheriff didn't want to be here. Every instinct was screaming that this was wrong. But the folder in his hand said the law was the law. The attorney stepped out of the sedan. Mid-40s, sharp suit. The kind of lawyer who billed $400 an hour and slept fine at night. Cole, Dawkins said. His voice was tired. Ray, before you open that folder, I need you to do one thing. I don't have time for 30 seconds. Run a name through NCIC, Malcolm Dean Cross. Dawkins stopped walking. Who? Malcolm Dean Cross. That's Vincent Hale's real name. Run it right now from your car. 30 seconds. If it comes back clean, I'll hand her over myself. The attorney stepped forward. Sheriff, you have a signed court order. This is a delay tactic. 30 seconds, Ray. That's all I'm asking. Dawkins looked at Cole, looked at the attorney, looked at the folder in his hand. Then he walked back to his cruiser, sat in the driver's seat, typed a name into his terminal. 20 seconds passed. Dawkins's face went white. Not gradually, all at once, like a fuse had blown. He got out of the car. His hand was on his weapon. Where is he? Dawkins asked, and his voice was completely different now. Where is Vincent Hale? I don't know. He wasn't in the SUV when you arrived. Malcolm Dean Cross, Dawkins said, and each word fell like a hammer. Wanted in 4 states, 2 counts first-degree murder in Idaho, 1 in Wyoming, 1 in California, interstate kidnapping, child trafficking. This man is on the FBI's most wanted list. The attorney's face drained of color. I was retained by phone. I didn't know. Save it, Dawkins snapped. He keyed his radio. All units, suspect identified as Malcolm Dean Cross. White male, late 50s, blonde hair, wire-rimmed glasses. Last known vehicle, silver SUV, Arizona templates. Consider armed and extremely dangerous. Lock down every road out of Prescott. Nobody leaves this town. He turned to Cole. The court order was still in his hand. He looked at it the way you look at something that just tried to bite you. Cole. Yeah, Ray. I almost handed a 3-year-old to a serial killer. But you didn't, because you ran the name. Because you told me to run the name. Because Rosie told us the truth. All we did was listen. Dawkins folded the court order, put it in his pocket. Then he reached out and shook Cole's hand. His grip was shaking. The FBI is 90 minutes out, Cole said. Agent Holt, Salt Lake office. I'll have every deputy in the county on the roads. He's not getting out. He might not try to get out, Ray. He might try to get in. Dawkins's eyes widened. You think he'll come here? For the girl? I know he will. He told me himself. He's never left a child behind. Not once. His ego won't let him. Dawkins looked at the sea of motorcycles, the wall of leather and chrome and hard-eyed men standing between a monster and a sleeping child. Then God help him, Dawkins said quietly, because those men won't. Dawkins got back in his cruiser. The attorney scrambled into his sedan and disappeared down the road so fast his tires screeched on the asphalt. Gone. Just like that. The man who'd been ready to legally hand a child to a killer couldn't get away fast enough once the truth hit. Tommy appeared at Cole's shoulder. Every road? Every road. And if he doesn't use a road? Cole thought about the man who practiced his smile in mirrors. The man who watched a child for 5 days before making his move. The man who bought a blindfold and zip ties and packed them like luggage for a business trip. Get the boys off the south perimeter, move them north. He knows we're watching the roads, he won't use them. North is open ground, then tree line. Exactly. If he comes on foot, he comes from the trees. Tommy moved fast, quiet. Within minutes, 30 riders had repositioned along the northern edge of the rally grounds, facing the tree line. No flashlights, no noise. Just men standing in the dark, watching, waiting. The kind of waiting they'd all done before in different ways. In prison yards, in combat zones, in hospital hallways. The kind of waiting where everything you care about hangs on what happens next. Cole went back into the trailer. Rosie was still asleep. Darla hadn't moved. Preacher sat with his hands folded, his lips moving in silent prayer. It's done, Cole said. Dawkins knows. Roads are blocked. Holt is coming. And Vincent? Darla asked. He's out there, somewhere. Rosie stirred. Her eyes opened, all at once, the way they always did. She looked up at Cole with those pale blue eyes that carried more knowledge of evil than any child should ever hold. He's coming, isn't he? Not a question. Yes. I'm not scared anymore. No? No, because you're still here. And Darla is still here. And Tommy and Flint and Preacher. You're all still here. Her voice was steady, almost too steady for a 3-year-old. Nobody ever stayed before. Everybody always left. But you stayed. We're not going anywhere, Rosie. Promise? Promise. Cole's phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. He opened it. His jaw tightened. You can't keep her. I see everything. I always see everything. He showed it to Tommy, who had come back inside. Tommy read it twice. His face hardened into stone. He's watching us right now. Cole's phone buzzed again. I see you moved your men north. Smart. But you left the east approach thin. Only 4 men covering a 40-yard gap. Cole's blood went cold. Vincent wasn't just watching. He was analyzing. In real time. Reading their positions like a general studying a battlefield. Another text. I won't come through that gap. Of course you'll reinforce it now. But I wanted you to know. I see everything. He's on high ground, Tommy said immediately. Elevated position. The ridge northwest of here. It overlooks the entire rally grounds. Cole keyed his radio. All positions. Reinforce east approach. 4 additional men. Now. Then his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Mr. Dawson. Vincent's voice was calm again. Almost bored. The conversational tone of a man discussing the weather. That was dramatic earlier. The sheriff. The NCIC search. I'll admit, I didn't expect that from a motorcycle mechanic. Where are you, Vincent? Close enough to watch you reinforce that east gap. Close enough to count your men. Close enough to see that little trailer where my Rosie is sleeping. She's not yours. She's been mine for 19 months. I chose her. I took her. I shaped her. Everything she is. The way she reads people. The way she calculates danger. The way she survives. That's me. I built that. You tortured a 3-year-old. I trained her. There's a difference. Her parents were soft. They would have raised a soft child. I gave her steel. You gave her nightmares and zip-tie scars. I gave her survival skills. She's the strongest of all my children. She runs. She fights. She never gives up. That's because of me. From inside the trailer, a small voice cut through the darkness like a blade. No, it's not. Cole turned. Rosie was standing in the trailer doorway. Darla was right behind her, trying to pull her back inside. But Rosie had planted her bare feet on the metal step with a stubbornness that no adult hand could move. Rosie, get back inside. No. She was looking past Cole, looking into the darkness toward the ridge where she somehow knew Vincent was watching. I can feel him. I always feel him before he comes, like the air gets heavier. Rosie, come to me. Vincent's voice came through the phone, still on speaker. It had shifted, automatic, reflexive, back to the warm, fatherly tone, the voice he used like a tool. Come to Daddy. We're going home. You're not my daddy. Rosie. My daddy used to carry me on his shoulders and make horse sounds. My daddy sang me the butterfly song every night. My daddy was kind and he was gentle, and he smelled like grass because he always played with me outside. She paused, drew a breath that was bigger than her whole body. You're nothing. The phone went silent. 5 seconds. 10. When Vincent spoke again, the mask was gone, completely. What remained was flat, cold, the real man underneath every performance he'd ever given. You ungrateful little... Cole ended the call, grabbed Rosie, handed her to Darla. Inside, now, lock the door. Cole, now, Darla. The door slammed shut. Tommy. Cole's voice was ice. He's on that ridge, he's armed, and she just wounded his ego. He's coming. Then let him come. I want him close enough that there's no lawyer, no judge, no court order to explain why a man with legal custody is sneaking through a tree line at midnight instead of walking through the front gate. Cole radioed every position. All units hold. Nobody moves until I say, he's on the northwest ridge. He's coming to us. Let him come. The night went quiet. The kind of quiet that presses against your eardrums. The kind that happens before something breaks. Then Tommy's voice, barely a whisper, crackled over the radio. Movement, northwest tree line, 50 yards, one figure, moving slow, staying low. Copy. 30 yards. He knows the terrain, boss. He's been studying it. Hold. 20 yards. He stopped. He's listening. Vincent was testing the silence. Predators did that. They paused before the final approach, reading the environment, sensing danger, calculating whether the risk was worth the reward. He's moving again. 15 yards. He's got something in his right hand. Can't make it out. All positions hold. Nobody moves until I say, 10 yards. 5. And then Vincent stepped out of the tree line into the faint glow of the rally security lights, and Cole saw two things simultaneously. The first was that Vincent had changed. The button-down shirt and khakis were gone. Dark clothing, head to toe. This was not a father coming to collect his daughter. This was a hunter on a final approach. The second thing was the gun in his right hand. He's armed, Tommy radioed, and the tension among the hidden riders ratcheted to a level that made the air vibrate. Vincent moved between two parked Harleys. His eyes were locked on the trailer. 15 feet from the door. 12. 10. Cole stepped into his path. Vincent stopped. The gun came up. Not all the way, not pointed directly, but held at his side with the barrel angled forward. Ready. You should have taken the easy way, Vincent said. His voice was stripped bare. No warmth, no charm, no performance. This was the real man beneath every mask he'd ever worn. Flat, cold, efficient. I gave you every chance to walk away, and I gave you every chance to stop. I don't stop, Mr. Dawson. That's what people never understand about me. I am patient, I am persistent, and I always finish what I start. Not tonight. You have no idea what you're involved in. Rosie is mine. She has been mine since the moment I chose her. Her parents were obstacles. You are an obstacle. I remove obstacles. Like you removed Michael and Sarah Calloway? Vincent didn't flinch, didn't deny it. He simply nodded, the way you'd confirm a minor detail at a business meeting. They were careless people, left their back door unlocked, put their daughter to bed at 7:30 every night like clockwork. Made it easy. Cole's hands trembled. Not from fear, from the effort of not crossing the 6 feet between them and breaking this man apart with his bare hands. You're confessing. I'm explaining. There's a difference. Confessions imply regret. I have none. Those children needed someone with purpose. Their parents were soft, weak. The world is dangerous. And soft people raise soft children who become soft adults. I gave those children structure, discipline, purpose. You gave them cages and zip ties and blindfolds. I gave them survival skills. From inside the trailer, Rosie's voice cut through the night again, small but sharp as broken glass. You gave me bad dreams. Every single night. I have bad dreams and I'm scared of the dark, and I cry when doors close, and I can't eat when people watch me. You didn't make me strong. You broke things inside me, and I'm only 3. Vincent's head snapped toward the trailer door. Rosie was at the window, her face pressed against the glass, her eyes locked on the man who had stolen her life. Lily, come to me. My name is Rosie. It was always Rosie. You don't even know my real name. Something cracked behind Vincent's eyes. Not guilt, something far more dangerous. Wounded vanity. The ego of a man who had built his entire identity around control. And a 3-year-old had just told him he was nothing. The gun came up, all the way up. Cole moved. No thought, no plan. Just the instinct of a man who had already lost one child and would die 1,000 times before losing another. He put his body between the gun and the trailer window, and the world compressed into a single point of absolute clarity. Darla, get her away from that window, now. He heard Darla grab Rosie, heard the girl cry out, heard the window slam shut. Vincent's gun was pointed at Cole's chest, 6 feet apart, close enough to see the emptiness in those eyes, close enough to see that the man's hand was steady. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't panicked. He was calculating, still calculating, always calculating. Step aside, Vincent said. No. I will shoot you. Maybe, but you hear that? Vincent listened, and what he heard was the sound of 30 men stepping out of the darkness, from behind motorcycles, from behind trucks, from the shadows between vendor stalls. 30 Hell's Angels forming a circle that tightened around Vincent like a noose being drawn. You shoot me, Cole said, and you've got 30 witnesses in about 5 seconds before they reach you. And I promise you, Vincent, or Malcolm, or whatever your name is tonight, those 5 seconds will feel like a lifetime. Vincent's eyes moved, counting, measuring, the predator's calculation running one final time. Risk against reward, ego against survival. This isn't over, he said. Yeah, it is, because the FBI knows your real name, Malcolm Dean Cross. They know about the Calloways, the Briggs family, the Suttons, every family you destroyed, every child you stole, and they're 45 minutes away. Something shifted in Vincent's face, not fear. Cole wasn't sure this man was capable of fear, but recognition. The recognition of an animal that had been running free for 6 years and had finally been cornered. 45 minutes is a long time, Vincent said. Not long enough for you to get out of this circle. He moved fast. Faster than a man his age should have been able to move. He didn't run toward the trailer. He ran sideways, toward the gap between 2 parked trucks, firing once into the air. Not at anyone, just noise, chaos, a distraction to buy seconds. Tommy was the first to react, covered the distance in 4 strides, but Vincent had already cleared the trucks and was sprinting toward the tree line. 2 riders cut left to flank him. 3 more came from the right. But Vincent knew the terrain. He'd spent 5 days studying every inch of it. He hit the trees and vanished like smoke. "Do we chase?" Tommy radioed, breathing hard. "No, he wants us to scatter. He wants us to leave Rosie unprotected while we chase him through trees in the dark. Stay on the perimeter. Nobody leaves position." "He's gone, boss." "He's not gone, he's circling. He'll try again." Cole went back to the trailer. Rosie was sitting on the bench with her knees drawn up and her arms wrapped around them. She wasn't crying, she was past crying. She had entered a place beyond tears, a still, quiet place where the only thing left was waiting. "He's gone," Cole told her. "For now." "For now," she repeated. "He always comes back. You know that, right? He told me once that I was his favorite, that he'd never stop looking for me, that even if I ran to the end of the world, he'd find me there." "He lied about a lot of things, Rosie." "Not about that. He never lied about that." Cole sat down across from her. Darla hovered close, her face a mask of controlled fury and desperate tenderness. Preacher had his head bowed. "Rosie, I want to tell you something, and I want you to listen carefully." She looked up. "I had a son. His name was Tyler. He was 16 years old. He was the best person I ever knew. He died 4 years ago. A drunk driver hit his car on Route 12. By the time I got to the hospital, he was gone." Rosie's eyes widened, not with pity, with recognition. The recognition of someone who understood loss at a depth no child should ever reach. "After Tyler died, I stopped believing in a lot of things. I stopped believing the world was fair. I stopped believing good people were protected. I stopped believing one person could make a difference against all the terrible things that happen." "What changed?" "You changed it. You ran to me. Out of everyone at that rally, thousands of people, you grabbed my hand, and you asked me to help you. And in that moment I realized something. Tyler's gone. I can't protect him anymore. But I can protect you. And that's not a small thing, Rosie. That's the biggest thing in the world." Rosie's lower lip trembled. "You miss him. Every day. I miss my mommy and daddy every day too. I know you do. Does it ever stop hurting?" Cole thought about lying, thought about saying yes, it gets better, time heals everything. All the hollow words people had poured into him, like water into a cracked glass. "No," he said, "it doesn't stop, but it changes. The hurt becomes something else. It becomes the reason you keep going. It becomes the thing that makes you fight for people who can't fight for themselves. Your mommy and daddy loved you, Rosie, and that love didn't die with them. It's in you. It's the reason you kept running. It's the reason you never gave up. Mama said love is like a flashlight. Even when it's dark, it shows you where to go. Your mama was right." Darla was crying now, silently, her back turned, shoulders shaking. Preacher had stopped praying and was just sitting with his hands folded, tears running freely into his white blonde beard. Flint burst through the door. "Holt's 15 minutes out. 2 FBI vehicles. Dawkins is moving his deputies to close from the south." "And Vincent?" "Nothing. No movement on any road. No activity at the motel. He's in the wind." "He's not in the wind. He's in those trees, waiting." Cole's phone rang. Unknown number. His jaw tightened. "Don't answer it," Tommy said from the doorway. Cole answered it. "That was dramatic," Vincent said, calm again, almost bored. "The gunshot was excessive. I apologize." "You're apologizing for firing a gun near a 3-year-old. I'm apologizing for the theatrics. I'm usually more composed. You bring out the worst in me, Mr. Dawson." "Where are you?" "Close enough to hear the sirens." And Cole could hear them too. Distant, growing, coming from the south. FBI. "You've won this round, Mr. Dawson. I'm honest enough to admit that. This isn't a round. This is the end. Nothing ends. Rosie knows that. Ask her. The thing about me, the thing that makes me different from every criminal the FBI has ever chased, is that I don't act on impulse. I plan, I wait, I watch, and when the moment is right, I take what I want. You're going to spend the rest of your life in a cage. Perhaps, or perhaps I disappear again. New name, new face, new city. I've done it before. Not this time. We'll see. A pause. Tell Rosie something for me. Tell her I'm proud of her. She's the only one who ever made it this far. The others gave up after the second attempt. But Rosie, she's special. She always was. You don't get to be proud of her. You don't get to claim anything about her. She survived you. That's not your achievement. That's hers. Goodbye, Mr. Dawson, for now. The line went dead. Cole keyed the radio immediately. Tommy, he's northwest, elevated position, consistent with the ridge. He can hear the FBI sirens, which means he's calculating his exit right now. On it. Dawkins. Cole switched to the sheriff's frequency. Target is on the northwest ridge. Armed. Elevated position. Sending 2 units up the fire road, Dawkins replied. If he's up there, we box him in. Holt's voice came through next. He'd patched into the sheriff's channel. He'll have a vehicle stashed somewhere along that fire road. Escape route. He planned for this. He always plans for this. The sirens grew louder, closer. The FBI closing in from the south. Deputies from the east. Riders holding every other angle. And somewhere on that ridge, Malcolm Dean Cross, the man who had killed families across 5 states, who had stolen children like possessions, who had practiced his smile in mirrors and bought blindfolds at hardware stores, was running out of room. At 3:17 a.m., Dawkins's radio exploded with noise. A deputy on Highway 89 had attempted to stop a vehicle registered under the name James Whitford, one of Vincent's known aliases. The driver accelerated through the checkpoint. A pursuit was underway. For 23 minutes, Cole and Rosie and Darla and Tommy and Flint and Preacher sat in that trailer and waited. Rosie held Cole's hand with both of hers. Darla held Rosie's other hand. Preacher prayed out loud for the first time all night, his deep voice filling the small space with words that felt older than language. At 3:40 a.m., Holt called. We got him. Cole closed his eyes. Pursuit ended on Highway 89 north of Chino Valley. He lost control on a curve and hit a guardrail. He's alive. He's in custody. It's over. You're sure? He's in handcuffs in the back of a federal vehicle. He's not getting out. Not tonight. Not ever. Cole put the phone on speaker. Rosie, Holt said, he's caught. You're safe. Rosie didn't speak for a long time. She sat very still, holding Cole's hand, staring at the phone as if the words might rearrange themselves into something different if she looked away. Then she turned to Cole, and for the first time since she had crashed into his legs at the motorcycle rally, terrified, starving, hunted, alone, Rosie Ann Calloway let herself truly cry. Not the quiet, survival tears she had learned to swallow. Real tears. The heaving, shaking, gasping tears of a child who had finally been given permission to feel everything she'd been holding back for 19 months. Cole held her. Darla held them both. Tommy stood in the doorway and let tears run down his face without wiping them. Preacher said, Amen. Flint closed his laptop and put his head in his hands. And outside, 96 Hell's Angels stood in the Arizona night and listened to a little girl cry. Not from pain, not from fear, but from the overwhelming, earth-shaking relief of being free. Rosie didn't sleep for the rest of that night. None of them did. She sat on the bench with Cole on one side and Darla on the other, wrapped in a blanket that smelled like motor oil and campfire smoke, and she talked. For the first time in 19 months, she talked without fear. She told them about the yellow house in Twin Falls, the creaky porch step her daddy always said he'd fix on Saturday, but never did because Saturdays were for pancakes and cartoons. She told them about her mother's garden, tomatoes and sunflowers, and one stubborn rose bush that bloomed every spring, no matter how cold the winter got. She told them about the night everything ended, how she'd been asleep with her nightlight shaped like a star. And then there were sounds she didn't understand. And then Vincent was carrying her through the dark. And the last thing she saw through the car window was a yellow house getting smaller and smaller until it disappeared. I kept thinking they'd come find me, Rosie said. Every night for the first month, I listened for my daddy's truck. He had this old Ford that made a funny rattle sound. I thought if I listened hard enough, I'd hear it. You didn't know, Darla whispered. No, Vincent told me they moved away, that they didn't want a little girl anymore. I believed him for a while. Then I stopped believing him. But by then it didn't matter, because I was already gone. At 6:14 a.m., Holt called. His voice was raw from a night without sleep, but carrying something new. Something that sounded like justice finally drawing breath. Malcolm Dean Cross is in federal custody. He hasn't stopped talking. He's proud of what he did. He's giving details voluntarily, dates, locations, methods. He wants credit. His own vanity is building the case against him better than my team could in 10 years. The other children? Cole asked. He gave us locations. 3 houses across 3 states. We've got teams moving on all of them right now. They're alive, Rosie said from the bench. She'd been listening. She always listened. He doesn't hurt the kids. Not like that. He hurts the parents. The kids he keeps. He locks them up and controls them. He told me we were his collection, like dolls on a shelf. Holt was quiet for a moment. Rosie, everything you've told us has been accurate. Every detail. You've given us more actionable intelligence in one night than my task force gathered in 2 years. Does that mean I helped? That means you saved lives, including your own. By noon, the news found Prescott. Satellite trucks lined the main road. Reporters pushed microphones toward every biker they could reach. Sledge refused every interview. So did Tommy. So did every Hells Angels member who was approached. They formed a media wall as effective as their physical one, keeping cameras away from Rosie with the same ferocity they'd used to keep Vincent away. Then Holt delivered the news that made Cole sit down hard. We found them, all 4 children, alive. Rosie put down her sandwich, her 4th meal of the day, each one a small miracle, and went still. Owen Briggs was in a basement apartment in Reno. Mia Sutton was in a rural property outside Casper. The other 2 were together near Sacramento. All malnourished, all traumatized, but alive. Can you tell them Rosie says hi? She whispered. Can you tell them the bad man is gone? I'll tell them personally. And there's something else, Holt continued. In Cross's files, he kept detailed background research on every family. In your file, Rosie, he noted that your mother had a sister, Jessica Ward, lives in Spokane, Washington. Rosie went very still. Auntie Jessie? Jessica and Brian Ward have been searching for you since the day you disappeared. They hired investigators. They set up a website. They called us every single month for 19 months. They looked for me? Rosie's voice broke. He said nobody was looking. They never stopped. They have a room waiting for you, Rosie. It's been waiting since the week you disappeared. The video call that evening shattered everyone in the trailer. Jessica's face appeared on screen, already crying before a word was spoken. Brian beside her. And their daughter Ella, 7 years old, clutching a small stuffed bunny. Rosie, Jessica breathed. Auntie Jessie. Ella pushed forward. Rosie, do you remember me? We used to build forts with blankets, and you always wanted the purple one. Rosie laughed, a real laugh, full and bright and startling in that small trailer. The first real laugh anyone had heard from her in 19 months. I remember, you always stole my juice box. I have your bunny, Ella said, holding it up. You left it at our house. I sleep with it every night so it won't get scared. You kept my bunny? I told her every night you were coming home. The Wards flew to Prescott the next morning. When Rosie saw Jessica crossing the rally grounds, she ran. And when they collided, 96 Hells Angels stood in the morning sun and watched a family put itself back together. David approached Cole with his hand extended. Cole took it. Brian pulled him into a hug instead. The fierce, back-pounding hug of a man who has no words big enough. "Thank you," Brian said. "Thank you. Thank you." "She saved herself," Cole said. "All I did was stand in front of her." "That's everything. That's the whole world." The court granted the wards full custody, with a formal visitation provision for Cole Dawson and the Hells Angels Prescott chapter written directly into the order. On her last morning, Rosie stood in front of Cole with her new backpack on, looking up with those blue eyes that had seen too much darkness and somehow still found light. "You saved my life, Uncle Cole." "You saved mine right back, Princess." She turned to the assembled Hells Angels, 96 of them standing in rows, and raised her small hand. "Thank you for being my wall." Nobody spoke. Nobody could. 6 months later, the Iron Thunder Rally returned to Prescott. 10,000 riders from 24 states. They came because a story had traveled from chapter to chapter, coast to coast. The story of a 3-year-old who ran to strangers and found a family. Rosie Grace Calloway Dawson, the court had approved the name, arrived wearing a tiny leather vest stitched with "Angel's Family" across the back. She hit Cole at full speed, just like the first time. Except now she was running toward home. She stood at the microphone, 3 feet tall, facing 10,000 people. "If you see a kid who looks scared, don't walk away. Stop. Listen. Believe them. Because maybe you're the person they've been praying for." 10,000 people rose to their feet. The roar shook the mountains. Cole stood in the crowd with Tyler's photograph in one pocket and Rosie's drawing in the other. The circle of stick figures with one word written above it: safe. Because sometimes the roughest hands hold the gentlest hearts. Sometimes the loudest engines carry the quietest prayers. And sometimes a 3-year-old girl with no shoes and 4 whispered words can change the entire world. Not by fighting the darkness, but by running straight into the arms of people brave enough to stand against it. "He found me again," she once cried. "Not anymore," they answered, and they meant it forever.